just because it's important picks and you want to, figure out these kind of guys. But Rachaad White in the playoffs, Rachaad White actually outsnapped Bucky Irving. It was like he had 15 routes ran to Bucky's 4 in the playoffs, which was significant. Like it was a 70% route run to Bucky's like 21%. And I mean, that's when games matter the most. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be kind of how the season goes for this year. Maybe it is Bucky Irving, but Rachaad White did have a role in that team as the preferred receiving option, and he is a good receiving back. Like that, I don't think Rachaad White is good between the tackles, and I think the Bucs saw that last year. So he's somebody that I do think will have a role. And like you said, if something happens to Bucky Irving, we've seen Rachaad White already be a solid fantasy option 2 years ago. So he's somebody that I don't even mind the draft either.
Yeah, it's tough because I feel like Rachaad White had that year where I think it was top 5 back in fantasy PPR leagues. And then it's like, the efficiency kicked in where that actually became a thing. So I don't know if there's ever a lack in Bucky Irving's efficiency. Like that's one of the reasons I don't draft a bunch of Bucky Irving in the second round is because you still got this guy hanging around who could be, you talked about it, even though it's a different coaching staff, he did get more involved in the passing game. And I'm pretty sure Rachaad White was he was banged up for a portion of the year last year, playing through injury. So, all right, guys. Well, we got a mock draft underway here. This is going to be a half-point PPR league. The roster construction, we have 2 running backs, 3 receivers, a tight end, and a flex with 4 bench spots, no kicker, no defense. We don't do that here on the show.
Yo, what's up, Daniel?
What's popping, everybody? What's popping?
Oh, maybe you were saying that, Tyler. So last year, or when I was doing my write-ups, there's one thing that I found that was really interesting. If Drake London, all right, Drake London last year had a good season.
Oh, yeah, he had a good season.
But I don't know how you look at fantasy football. For me, I always look at 1 through 17. Week 18, I don't give a shit about because there should be no fantasy leagues that play.
Okay.
It just shouldn't. So if you take out week 18, he had a blow-up game. He had 40 fantasy points. If you take that out, he was outside the top 20 in points per game, averaging 15 fantasy points per game. It was honestly kind of like disappointing to look at the season. And I'm not saying that Drake London's going to be disappointing this year. I love Drake London, the player, but he is somebody that I don't want to say I'm hesitant about, but there's a wide range of outcomes with him because Michael Penix could be not very good. Like he could be a bad quarterback. And I do think that would severely limit Drake London's upside in fantasy.
I hear you. And it's easy to say, hey, if you take this game out, this would happen. But I think
it was week 18.
That's fine, but
it doesn't matter in fantasy.
It does matter because
nobody's playing.
That was Michael Penix's chance to be like, okay, cool.
It was against Carolina.
That game didn't matter for them. So yeah, now you get to see full Michael Penix. What does that look like? It wasn't like, hey, we're trying to make the playoffs, Atlanta. Let's run the football and play it safe. It was no, let's air this thing out. And I think Michael Penix showed a lot in that last game, even though I want to say it was a starter game. If I'm not mistaken, wasn't that game wasn't it against a pretty good team there at the end? And Michael Penix was going crazy. Who was it against?
They played Carolina.
But they were still playing with all their starters though, right?
No, Carolina was like they had to win to get in, and then they had to have Tampa Bay to lose, and then the Falcons made the play. But like Carolina was so banged up at that point. Carolina didn't give a shit at that point. It's week 18. Nobody cares at that time. So I'm not trying to discredit what Michael Penix did at all. Like I'm not trying to say I'm just like that's a small sample size. Like
I hear you. I think Michael Penix is going to be better. You come into it year 2. They gave him the keys to the offense. I think we get a better Drake London because you don't have Kirk Cousins on his ass every play. You don't have Kirk Cousins can't throw the ball every play. Like
you could also have another quarterback that can't throw it though.
I kind of like. I'm gonna be honest with you. I kind of like Drake London a lot more than I should this year. And just to make a point right now, I'm about to take him right here at this pick. I've been taking a lot of Drake London a little bit earlier than I should because I think he truly has like 1,500 and like 12 type potential. And I'm taking him over guys like Puka Nacua. I'm taking him over some of these other receivers because I think the ceiling is massive for Drake London here in this. What is this, 3rd year in the league, 4th year in the league now?
Or is it 4th?
I think it's 4th year in the league.
Yeah, he came out with Chris Olave in them.
Yeah, I think this is his 4th year because Bijan came out the next year. And this is 4th year.
Bijan's third. Yeah,
this is Bijan's 3rd year. So this is his 4th year.
Yeah, he was on the Rachaad White. So if you said he was a contract, then yeah, he's a contract year.
Yeah, I think Drake London's gonna show. You see what Michael Penix said about him?
No.
So Michael Penix, they asked Michael Penix, they said, "Hey, Michael Penix, what do you think about everybody saying that Drake London is one of the most underrated receivers in the league?" That's what they say. They say he's one of the guys who doesn't get a shine. And Michael Penix says they won't be saying that after this year. I was like, that's cold, bro. That's cold.
Hopefully you can get him the ball.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Ashton Genty was still there.
Ashton Genty down here is crazy. But you know what? I think the thing is, if you think Genty's going to be down there, we have this conversation about Genty all the time, and I don't want to keep on Genty, but it's like, if you think the Raiders are going to be a top, like I've seen Ashton Genty be ranked 1st round and then Brock Bowers right there in the 2nd round. That means the Raiders probably got to be like a top 10 offense. I don't see it at all.
I think they're going to be a lot better than people anticipate personally. I think it's going to be a good offense. And also, like, I understand Brock Bowers, but like the dude, like, because that was another thing when I was going back and looking at it. He broke the record for receptions, targets, receiving yards, like literally everything for rookie tight ends.
Yeah.
He broke the record for everything. I think and that was always kind of the thing with him coming out, is that he is special, like truly, I know the term gets thrown around a lot, but generational, like he's a generational talent at the tight end position. And you get a big upgrade at the quarterback position, he should be the number 1 target. I think that like he's becoming, I think him and Trey McBride are going to be like the new Rob Gronkowski, Travis Kelce, when those two were like at their peaks, and those guys were, it's 1 year, one guy be in the 1st round, the next year the other guy be in the 1st round. I would never take him in the 1st round.
Yeah.
I don't like that. But 2nd round, like late 2nd round, I think,
I don't see it, bro.
The one thing is, just on points per game, Brock Bowers was, I already said this last time, he was wide receiver 9 and RB 10. So once you get to the end of the 2nd round, you're drafting basically the wide receiver 10, the RB 8-ish. That's where he was as a rookie wide receiver on one of the worst offenses in the NFL with some of the worst quarterback play in the NFL.
But you have to get 1,100 again, and that was with no ground game last year. That was a whole different offense last year. That was without this being the Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly offense.
Now he has Geno too. Like that's a massive upgrade.
Better for him or not, because Geno don't throw to the tight end. Geno's never thrown to the tight end.
Never had Brock Bowers.
Hey, we're going to find out a lot about Brock Bowers. We're going to find out because I'm like, if Ashton Genty's supposed to get.
I hope to God he falls to me right now. I'll gladly take him.
Oh, he's all yours. He's all yours. He's all yours. I don't mind him in the 3rd round here. I think this is but I almost would rather have Trey McBride at the same price. Like you get Trey McBride around later in similar production. He's going to be around 900 to 1,000 yards and probably somewhere around 5 to 6 touchdowns.
I mean, in your draft, like in normal drafts, these guys are getting closer. Brock Bowers has fallen down to more towards like back end of the 2nd round now. And him and Trey McBride are going pretty close to each other.
I would also say this, like we talked about ADP before, and like I know Sleeper has its own ADP, ESPN has its own ADP, but like Underdog 2 is a different type of draft. Like I know sometimes I've heard you reference like Underdog ADP, or I see people say, they're going right here on Underdog. It's not the same because you draft differently for Underdog and for Best Ball than you do for redraft. So just remember that, guys, if you're watching, and like I know it's good to take a look at early ADP. It's like that's going to get that will change as we get closer to the season. That will change. Excited as a Falcons fan for that 9 to 5 connection. Oh, I've never heard that. 9 to 5. I never heard that. Michael Penix.
That is a good one.
That is good. 9 to 5. One of the better nicknames. 9 to 5. I've never heard that before. I forgot this is half point PPR. Otherwise, I would have took Derrick Henry right there over Drake London. But I've seen a lot of Derrick Henry in the 2nd round. I'm not sure how I feel about that with him coming off a 1,900-yard year, getting the contract, and then also like, I feel like what's the difference in his situation outside of everybody being scared of age?
No, I agree. I think that he could be a back end first pick easily.
It's just I don't know.
Especially in like a half-point PPR league, favors that kind of player a little bit more. Obviously, he's not going to be 40 catches, but I could see him running for and that's one thing that in my write-up I said, like, I'm done trying to guess with Derrick Henry. Like, it's just when the wheels fall off, the wheels fall off. I'll just ride it, and like you said, I mean, I don't see what's different. I think that offense, I mean, it could be as good as last year. Obviously, they were so good last year that maybe it takes a slight hit this year, more injuries, that kind of stuff that can always happen. But if they stay healthy, I mean, I don't see how we can't do somewhat similar.
And it felt like, to be honest with you, it felt like as the season went on, like Derrick Henry had some amazing games last year, and it felt like as the season went on, he kind of actually wore down a little bit. Like I remember in the back half of the season thinking like, damn, kind of losing value with Derrick Henry right now. But like, to me, it seems like he might not have been ready for it because Tennessee's always out the damn playoffs. So he wasn't even probably training to like make this. I know I'm probably down talking his training, and I'm not trying to do that because he's a professional athlete. But like his body, he may have been training his body for 17 instead of for Super Bowl type run. And I think like towards the end of the year, if we get a little bit more consistency out of Derrick Henry, or they find other ways to use him, like we might be talking about a 2,000-yard season for Derrick Henry, straight up.
Well, the one, Trey McBride's still here. Man, I'm not really hitting those wide receivers though. Oh, Josh Allen was still there too. Damn, I didn't see that.
It's half-point PPR. You be all right.
But what was I gonna say?
We're talking about Derrick Henry in the TDs and the yardage. Like, it could be crazy.
Yeah, and I don't know. Let me see this, because I don't want to say something before, because I feel like I know they played the Giants at the end of the year last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like you look at it, they played the Giants, they beat them by 20 points. Like they played the Steelers, they crushed the Steelers, they crushed the shit out of the Texans, they beat the shit out of the Browns. Like they had a lot of they crushed these teams at the end of the year, and that obviously is going to hurt Derrick Henry a little bit, where he's not playing the full game because it's just not a competitive game. That's one thing that I would say. But like, I don't even want to say that hindered a little bit, because in that Giants game he only had like 6 points.
Yeah,
and he just probably
it was like the middle of the season, because I was looking, I'm like, damn, he finished off with 3 straight 100-yard games to finish the year. So it was really just like this middle stretch. Yeah. Even then he was good. So it just felt like he was slowing down. He didn't actually slow down. It just felt
like 16 touchdowns a lot, but I wouldn't be shocked if he had like 20.
Yep.
He could have even more touchdowns, just because of that offense was it was so stupid with him there.
It's insane to think about. Like, he could actually be a value right there. What about, it looks like quarterbacks are a value right here in these mock drafts. And I think for those watching, this is obviously like, we have done a lot of practice, and a lot of people who draft with me tend to fade quarterback. If you're watching this mock draft, quarterbacks may not go this late in your draft, but I think you'll find value on other players in this range right here. What quarterbacks are you saying, Tyler, like, I got to take early, otherwise I'm waiting? Because it feels like Allen, Lamar, Jaden Daniels, Jalen Hurts, like these guys have the upside, but like, are you going as far as like, if Burrow falls to me in the 5th, I'm taking them, or like Baker and Pat Mahomes and Bo Nix and all these guys, like that next tier, are you taking those players, or are you only going for elite quarterbacks?
No, just the elite. Like, I'll take Jalen. I think Jalen Hurts in like the 5th round is fine. He's going to be somebody that last year he was quarterback 8. He missed 2 games, but like I'm sure he was around 20 points per game, which he has been. If I looked it up, I'm sure he's been right around there.
Yeah.
Josh Allen, so the big 3, in my opinion, even Jane Daniels, just because Jalen Hurts 21 fantasy points last year, 21, 25 the year before. Like he's an easy 21 fantasy points per game, which is elite. That's elite.
Yeah.
And obviously what Lamar did last year, Josh Allen, I do believe, like Jane Daniels, the thing with Jane Daniels is the rushing upside that he showed us last year, nearly 900 rushing yards, like fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, so those those big four, I wouldn't even say I'd take him that much, but like Josh Allen, if we redid this and he was there in the fourth, I definitely would have taken him. Like you get a guy who's been QB1 to look at that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He's been the quarterback 1 or 2 for the past 5 years. Like that's insane. So you're just getting like an ultra safe dude who over the past 2 years with this tush push has double-digit rushing touchdowns. Like the upside for him is insane. So outside of that, like Patrick Mahomes, you took him there. A lot of times I got him today in a best ball draft. It was like the 9th round, and he has been slipping later and later. I don't mind Patrick Mahomes. Like he's the one guy that I don't mind taking around there. Otherwise, we've talked about this before too. Like I'll wait on Dak. Like
I think Mahomes, it's weird because the reason why I brought that up is because I was like, all right, I'm gonna try a draft. Like obviously you have to mock draft. You have to see how teams play out. Damn it, I did not take Cooper Kupp there. I'm an idiot. Pat Mahomes is a player I've been finding like, okay, what does my team look like if I'm able to get Patrick Mahomes? Because he has that top 3 upside. Like we know the upside's there. Maybe we haven't seen it over the years, but it's easy to forget. Like Travis Kelce wasn't the same last year. He wasn't producing at the same level. Rashee Rice was injured last year. Xavier Worthy, it took him all season to get going. The team was without Hollywood Brown last year. Pacheco was out for a majority of the season. A lot of the key pieces for this Kansas City offense just weren't there. And I think it's easy to forget that when it comes to Mahomes because we're so used to him like making these players elite. But you're throwing all your touchdowns are to Noah Gray and to all these secondary pieces. Carson Steele is your running back. Teams know Mahomes going to throw the ball. You also get another speed guy in the what was it, the 3rd round this year, Jalen Royal. Right, Jalen Royal.
Yeah. I don't remember what round it was.
But another speed guy there. Yeah. So this team is like loaded with weapons. And if Mahomes can get somewhere back around that 4,500 range, I mean, the touchdowns are going to come for him. And the offense is rolling, like they just got to stay healthy. And I think we'll probably get a value on Mahomes. So I've been having Mahomes around like my QB6. It's probably where he's going to stay, maybe QB5. But like, I think I might have been a little too hard on Mahomes last year or to start this, like my rankings. I'll probably be drafting a lot of them this year if I can get the value that I'm getting right here.
Yeah, I don't remember where I have him right now. It's right around, I want to say QB7-ish. Right around there.
I think that's fine. Like, and I probably could have took Burrow there, but you got to, you know what I'm saying? Sometimes
I think, Burrow, because you have your, big 4 there.
Yep.
And then it's Burrow, and then
I think Burrow Mahomes is the next tier. And then it cuts off right there.
Yeah, I agree.
Who do you have in the next part of that tier? Who's your next quarterback there?
I put another guy in that tier. A guy that I think gets a little bit hate, and we talked about him last time. Kyler. Kyler was still good. I know people thought he was going to be top 5, but like to finish his quarterback 10 in a down year, like that's fine. Like,
yeah, I think the aggressive the aggressive ranking for me, I got Justin Fields up there because I feel like Justin Fields when he plays, he's a 20-point guy. Like if he starts the whole, he's 20 plus a game damn near.
That's the only problem I have with him is just if he does, I'm okay with drafting him, and I think where he's currently going is fine. It's just he would be in the next tier after those guys, just because I don't know if he plays a full year. Like he could get benched later in the season, which now you're looking for a quarterback when you don't want to be looking for a quarterback. Right. One of those kind of things. So, but yeah, I agree. Like as long as he's on the field, he'll put up quarterback 1 numbers. That's what he'll do.
Question came in. You guys continue to ask the questions. We'll answer them throughout.
I'll be right back.
You're all good. We'll answer them throughout this mock draft. Yep. Mike Evans, is he a fade for you this year, Jahan? No, Mike Evans is not a fade for me. I wouldn't call him a fade. I just don't take him at like the top 15 receivers where he's going right now. I kind of got him in like that next range. So I found myself not drafting a lot of Mike Evans, but if he falls to me outside of like when DK Metcalf's kind of like the last major name that I see before Mike Evans, where I'm like, I got to grab him. Terry McLaurin's right there. Mike Evans is right there. They're at cost already. So sometimes I'm looking for more value than cost, and I think DK could have a really strong year touchdown-wise. So I think Mike Evans, you draft Emeka Egbuka, you get Chris Godwin back. You already know it's a heavy receiver room, and no more Liam Cohen. He's not a fade, but I think the upside's limited. You get like 1,000-yard Mike Evans as opposed to like potentially 1,300 to 1,500 yards. I just don't see that kind of season for him at this age. I think he's just so focused on knocking down that that 1,000-yard tier every time. So I'm gonna go with Jaylen Warren here. Let's pick up another back too while I'm here. I'm either looking at Henderson. Damn, all the backs I normally get are gone. Let's go B-Rob. Let me see. Hold on. Let me see who else is here first. I think I'm gonna go B-Rob though. Kelsey's gone. That's who else I was looking at. Ooh, no, I got enough receivers already. Let's go Brian Robinson. I was gonna go receiver here. Y'all could probably guess who my receivers were gonna be, but yeah, I'm not really down on Mike Evans, so to say. It's just I don't draft a lot of him. He's a hard player for me to draft right now because he goes in a range with like a lot of other players that I like. Like I said, DK is one of them at receiver, and then also some running backs typically go there. Like in our drafts, they're a little bit different, but that's typically like Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara range in a lot of drafts. So he's not a fade for me. It's just a player I don't typically draft. You guys have super flex 6-point passing TD rankings. We do super flex drafts on here, but as far as 6 points per passing touchdown, I don't really do a lot of 6-point per passing touchdown leagues. Tyler, do you?
No. And honestly, it would adjust the rankings a little bit, but I don't even.
You just drafted quarterback earlier.
Yeah, and if it's 6 point per passing touchdown, like sure your pocket passers get a little bit of a boost, but I mean, still the rushing upside is still relevant in that.
Yeah. I think it boosts up like a Joe Burrow. Maybe he becomes more like elite-ish. Pat Mahomes has like elite-ish upside.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be drastic. Like it wouldn't be something that I think that you really need different rankings for. You would just move up a couple of guys that have the high passing touchdown upside and closer to those cheat codes like a Drake May, something like that. But like the top half, those guys can still throw for a decent amount of touchdowns.
It's funny because like the rankings, they'll change a little bit, but like it doesn't happen. It's not as huge thing because if Mahomes throws 36 and Joe Burrow throws 38, you're getting an extra 4 points out of Joe Burrow. Like it's not going to change things like that drastically. The quarterbacks are going to throw somewhere between like 25 and 40. So you add an extra 2 points to that. It's like what, extra 30 points maybe that you're going to get out of the quarterback. So I don't know. I don't think it's like.
Yeah, and then you have Jalen Hurts who could throw for 24 and then run for 15.
Yes,
like it's basically the same as on top of all the other rushing yards. So it's like it lowers the gap a little bit with those rush. The ones that it really affects is like maybe your Justin Fields and your Drake May, those kind of guys. Like you might want to move up. Like I don't know if you have Dak Prescott over those guys or they're close, but like guy like that you would definitely move over those kind of guys because the passing touchdowns may not be big.
Dak might throw like 40 TDs this year, bro.
Oh, I love Dak.
Yeah, Dak. I think a lot of people are starting to get in on Dak, but he was going way lower than he should.
Yeah, I still think he goes low. I'll see. I made a video like he's still not taken, but like Baker Mayfield, like I wouldn't. Dak Prescott and Baker should go close. Like I don't see a big difference between those kind of guys.
What are the thoughts on Evan Ingram this year? I see a top 5 season personally. I'm not mad at that. And I kind of have Ingram higher. It's just the Joker role. We've seen this with Sean Payton before where he promises his Joker role or he promises all this extra work and then shit doesn't happen. So Sean Payton's kind of tough because you don't know where to trust him. But I think Evan Ingram could have a nice season. And I want to put him top 5, but there's also a world where they go through the ground game. You just get 2 backs. You get J.K. Dobbins. You get R.J. Harvey. Your receiver room is getting better by the day. Obviously, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims playing a bigger role in that offense. So I think Evan Ingram should be around a top 5 to 7-ish tight end on the season. It's just tough, man. It's tough to trust Sean Payton sometimes, man. And, Evan Ingram really he's had 2 great seasons. And outside of that, he's been kind of regular. So I don't know. He's a tough player for me. But I like to put him up there top 5, but
yeah, I like him. Usually if I don't land like one of the top guys, which I wouldn't even say I'm really targeting. I know I went with Trey McBride, but like 4th round, I feel like that's pretty good to take Trey McBride. And if I don't get one of those guys, then I'll typically just wait. And he's one of my preferred targets because I do, I talked about Travis Etienne, but just 2 years ago he was tight end 2. And now he goes to a situation where the thing with tight ends is you want your tight end to be a top 2 target on their team. I do think he could be a top 2 target on this offense.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying, where outside of those 2 years, but that's also because he was in the Giants, and my God,
Yeah.
they had some fucking terrible offense there. So I think he's always been talented. He's just needed the right situation. That happened in Jacksonville, and I think it's happening here. I think he'll have a good season personally.
It's kind of weird because like I think he's a mixed bag, and I think he goes at a pretty good price tag right now where he's affordable. You can get him outside of top 7 tight ends, and he's not really risky because if he doesn't pan out, chances are you have another tight end who's probably close to him anyway.
Or there'll be somebody on waivers. There'll be a Jonnu Smith this year.
Exactly. But if Evan Ingram hits, you probably have a guy that's like way more valuable than you think.
And you don't need to worry about the tight end. He's just a guy that you're going to be starting every single week. You're not even going to think about it.
Thoughts on Tyreek this year? Me and Tyler have had this discussion already about Tyreek. I think he still has it. Tyler, you still on the fact that like you don't think he has the juice anymore?
I just don't like the vibes personally. Like out of Miami as a whole, to be like I talked about it last time, I don't get good vibes out of that. And yeah, I mean, I am a little concerned just because last year it was a massive decline. Now we can say it was the injury to him, also to but I think there's slight concerns. Would I be shocked if those concerns are being put to bed? Absolutely not. He has a good season, but I could also see it where the concerns are warranted, and he ends up having another bad season along with that offense as a whole.
Yeah, I don't know how we were just talking to Evan Ingram. He was the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. He was a 10th tight end off the board.
I mean, a lot of times he's going right around Mark Andrews. Yeah, he's like
I thought that was incredible value, but as far as Tyreek goes, man, like I feel like Tyreek still has the same kind of upside. It's just you're banking on Tua, I think, more so than anything this year, which is, I guess that's the hard part. But for me, if Tua stays healthy for 15, 16, like Tyreek should be fine, like way better than he was last year, in my opinion.
I hope so. He was awful last year.
He was terrible last year.
He was so bad.
He had the wrist thing going on. So I don't know. I still want to believe he's a risky pick though in the second round. I think in the third, I take him for the upside. Like in best ball, I take him second round all day because I think he has the upside to like be
in best.
Top 5. I think in redraft, he's more of a third round guy to me. I think I've taken him before in second round, but he's more of a third. He'd be a nicer piece in the third round, I would say. Appreciate y'all tapping in, man. Make sure y'all show the stream some love. Obviously, I know you guys got to get going. Appreciate y'all, but we probably will get another one in here soon. What are your thoughts on Quinshon Judkins? Personally, I like Quinshon Judkins. You have to kind of believe that they're going to get him involved, right? There's been talks of Dylan Sampson getting involved in the passing game work, Quinshon Judkins getting the early down work, and then Jerome Ford getting mixed in. But what you have to believe with Quinshon Judkins is that by the season, in the second half of this season, the Browns are probably not going to be very good, especially if they're going in with Kenny Pickett or Joe Flacco as a quarterback. It's going to be a mid-tier team at best. And if that's the case, what do you do if you're a losing team? Well, you see what you have on the roster, and you let those guys get work. Quinshon Judkins, by the second half of the year, could be a 20 to 25 touch guy. And to me, I think that's what you want in fantasy. So in the middle rounds where he's going, like back in RB2, I think he's going to be a steal if he drops below that. I think he's for sure going to be a locked-in RB2 just based on situational football. He should be in there, like especially as the season goes on. Are you in on Quinshon Judkins?
I don't want to say that I'm out. I don't mind him where he went, but like I would still prefer like maybe I'm just a homer, but like Caleb Johnson, take the shot on him. Still RJ Harvey.
Why Johnson over Judkins?
I just have more faith that the Steelers will be a more competitive team, and I think they'll be a better offense with Aaron Rodgers under center, and I think that'll just be like I kind of view Johnson and Quinshon as like they're likely not going to see a ton of I don't want to say a ton of receiving work, but I think that they'll like Jalen Warren, even like Jerome Ford will probably see receiving work on that team before Quinshon in the beginning at least. I think that he'll be probably the guy. So I view him, but the thing is with the Steelers, I just think they'll be a better offense. So touchdown upside is probably better for Caleb Johnson. But I mean, it's close.
Yeah, I think it's close too. And I think if either one, I think Quinshon has the higher upside. If he can get the starting role, it's like a clear path to being a feature back. Whereas I think Caleb Johnson, no matter what he does in year one, is probably stuck in a committee role.
I hate taking 2 tight ends, but I kind of like. I think Njoku is a little undervalued this year too. Like, I think he's a good tight end.
Yeah,
it's just, he doesn't have like he gets banged up. But hey, maybe if Joe Flacco was the quarterback all year long, hell yeah,
yes, yeah,
sign me up on the Njoku. All like this dude could be easily a top 5 tight end fantasy football. Now, obviously, if Shadur, maybe Shadur is good, and maybe it was the pre-draft process and everybody didn't like him because of what he was saying or whatever. But he ends up balling out and shit. I don't know, but like I just think Njoku's a really talented player that could easily has the talent to be a top 5 kind of guy. I don't know if he is.
I mean, he was playing at that level for a majority of last season.
Yeah, when he was healthy, like he was fantastic.
So I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I feel like that situation to me is like the Browns just in general. It depends on who the quarterback is. And because I mean, shit. Even if you go to Shador later on, I feel like that might even be.
It could be, yeah. It could
you never know what that looks like. So
exactly, you don't know with any of the only problem that I have is like, kind of why I'm avoiding all of it is if it's just a revolving door where like 1 week it's one fucking guy and the next week it's another guy and they're like, oh well, let's try that. Like, just they need to let somebody play and just have continuity with the offense, but they just have so many guys. That it could just kind of be a revolving door, and I don't think that's ever good for an offense. So I don't know. We'll see. They have a lot of shit, and they don't want to be competitive.
Right.
They have 2 first-round picks next year, and might be a good quarterback class. So they're not looking to be competitive. So we'll see what happens this year with them.
Yeah, ugly situation overall. Sir Brooks, appreciate you showing some love in the chat, man. Just traded your 25 pick, your 204, and Ridley for Javonte and Olave. Now,
for Dynasty, I'm assuming.
This is a Dynasty deal, and I feel like Ridley and Olave, you're trading off similar players, just a younger version of a similar player. So Olave, Ridley, I think, obviously Olave's side. So this is basically the 204 for Javonte. Do I think the player it depends on who you took or who they took at the 204. I like the Ridley in the 204 side because I think with Olave, we're probably not going to see anything for him a major leap for him. It's going to take at least 2 years before we see that. And Javonte's probably on his way out. So I probably would rather just had a 204 in Ridley, to be honest with you.
I would say that it depends on, like, if it's super flex, you have typically like the 2 quarterbacks will get pushed up a little bit. Obviously, Cam Ward will go. And then you might even be set at 204. And I've seen Jackson Dart go around there, which if it's super flex, hell yeah. Like, give me a quarterback drafted in the first round. Even if Jackson Dart sucks, well worth the 204. But if it's not super flex, then it's just like you could be sitting there with not like Trey Harris.
Yeah.
I'd rather have Trey Harris. I'd rather have Olave than Trey Harris and Ridley. But yeah.
He said more so saw it as Williams for Ridley and 204 for Olave. It's 1 QB. I don't think Javonte for Ridley is a clean deal. I would much rather have Calvin Ridley, especially if it's I'm assuming this is a PPR league. I'd much rather have Ridley than Javonte. Javonte's just really risky this year. And then Olave for the 204. I guess that's the part. Like, I'd rather have Olave than the 204. But
I would definitely rather have Olave.
Yeah, I think Olave's value is the thing is for Olave, and I think this is the hard part about dynasty leagues, is that I don't really see him ever as anything more than like a high upside wide receiver 3, back end wide receiver 2. I don't really see him as that.
Wide receiver 2. Like, he needs a quarterback.
Yeah, but even when he has a quarterback, you now have concussion risk, and he's not a huge touchdown guy. He's not a big volume guy. So you're basically like banking on the yardage the whole time, which is fine. It's just I think that's a light version of what Calvin Ridley is.
But the one thing is it is dynasty. So like you're gonna have Chris Olave for probably like the next 4 or 5 years. And he doesn't need to be your wide receiver one. Like the one thing in dynasty is you always want wide receiver depth. And just the 204, like if it's a 12-team league, the 204 in a one quarterback league, it's just I think there's a big tier drop off once you get to like Luther Burden's off the board and like he's a fringe kind of guy. Like the tight ends will be gone. You're kind of sitting there with like Trey Harris, Bashaw Tootin, like those kind of guys, and it's just like they could be good or they could be bad. And then you just traded Ridley. You just traded for Ridley and one of these ass players, and you gave up Chris Olave, who will be a solid wide receiver too for the next 5 years. So like I don't know. I think it's a little risky. Unless it's 10 teams, then 10 teams a little bit more palatable.
Yeah. Are we rating teams today? You guys say you're down for another draft. Let's do this. Instead of rating teams, because we'll have all offseason to rate teams. Instead of doing that, let's get into it. What kind of draft do you guys want to do? Let me know in the comments what kind of draft you want. I saw a Superflex comment earlier. Do you guys want to do a Superflex draft? Let's pop into another draft just so we can get moving. But if you guys let me know your guys' thoughts on this draft in the comments. What's your favorite team? Yes, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Olave isn't a volume guy. Doesn't he get like 130 targets a season if he plays? Yeah, he's not a volume guy. He's not a volume guy. He's not a volume guy.
130 targets, that's good.
That's good, but he's not a volume guy. I mean, we just got to call it what it is.
No, I mean that for like a wide receiver 3 in Dynasty, hell yeah, sign me up.
Thoughts on Jonnu Smith? So Jonnu's an interesting player because he played so well last year, and it's like for years we've been like, oh, Jonnu Smith. It hasn't been like an exciting player to get, but like he performed last year, brand new offense, obviously like brand new situation for him. I'm out on Jonnu this year as ADP, especially he goes like sometimes top like 6. I'm like, I don't see it with
He's
him.
never finished inside the top 15 at tight end position.